So I would say managing human rights is an ethical risk or ethical issue for any business, irrespective of the size. Maybe it's a multinational or a large business house who is a listed company, maybe a medium sector or even a small sector. However, the ethical issue looked by large businesses is in terms of reputation or giving returns to its shareholders. The small businesses would look at it as a matter of existence. But everybody would be interested in doing things which makes their business sustainable. They wouldn't want to impact the operations of their business nor affect the customers who would not give them any repeat orders. So now what is the challenge in doing this? The challenges are different. As I said in the beginning, since there are many stakeholders and the legal requirements are different, the work ethics in different parts of even the same country are different. The cultural variations also adds on to it. So one remedy or one type of solution doesn't work for the same country or different geographies of the same country. For a large industry, since it is listed, it comes into the portfolio, or rather all the legal framework requirements that they need to meet with. They have proper processes and systems in place. They have more audits or assurances happening in terms of compliance to legal requirements. They are mandated to do public reporting. They are mandated to report on these issues in their annual reports to the stakeholders as well as to investors. So a lot of systems and processes are in place for a large company. When we come to a medium or a small sector, they are almost 80 to 90% into the supply chain of the same large companies, and also individually many times they are export oriented, although they are smaller companies. For them, sometimes resources are minimal in terms of competency of people they have with them, as well as in terms of monetary resources or the skills that they can hire for conducting human rights management. So for them, first thing that would be required to come over this challenge is creating awareness and showing them the benefits of managing human rights, at least a few critical ones which are very much pertaining to a business, such as bonded labor, no use of forced or bonded labor, not using any child labor, the working remuneration that is paid, which should be in line with the national or if required by the international requirements, the working hours that the people work for them. Many times it has become an unwritten norm that people work for longer hours and are not paid as required by the national legislation. And since there is a little weakness in implementation of these regulations, it becomes a challenging task for a large company to ensure that these human rights abuses do not occur in their supply chain. How do we address this? Who does the awareness? Who looks at the implementation? There needs to be a collaborative work to be done on this by possibly the trade associations or the industry associations of a particular sector, the larger companies, and also maybe the civil society organizations together. And there is also some role in terms of monitoring and implementation of the government bodies, some of those bodies, who should make it mandatory for certain amount of disclosure and reporting for the medium and small scale sectors as well. This would bring up the capability as well as transparency in understanding that these potential abuses are not affected by the activities done by even the medium and small scale industries. One idea that comes to my mind is possibly a nation can have a competent authority or a board or a committee made, who can then possibly look at making sector-specific guidelines. This would be very useful because the human rights potential abuses that occur, they do not depend only on geography, but sometimes they are very sector-specific. There are sectors where certain jobs are specifically done well by younger children or by women. So many times home-based workers are used for certain jobs. So sector-specific guidelines and which are those rights which may get compromised on those sectors. If there are specific guidelines around that, and also with how to mitigate these types of potential abuses, would be useful, and these would also act as a criteria if the supply chain audits are conducted or there is any third-party assurance that needs to be done. We shouldn't forget that customers also have a role when they are doing or demanding certain transparency in this area in terms of human rights management. Customers do ask or request for due diligence to be done, identification of what are those salient rights, how do you mitigate those. But are the customers then willing to bear part of the cost of implementing or managing human rights by providing or giving extra price for the product that they are buying from these suppliers? Some work around this needs to be done. This would be the incentive for many of the production houses or even for these small suppliers to ensure that they find benefit in looking at managing potential abuses within their work activities.